I'm digital artist Aaron Rutten, and today I'll be unboxing and setting up the new Wacom Cintiq Pro 27 and stand. This video is not sponsored by Wacom. I was lent this tablet to review by a friend who bought this with his own money. All opinions are my own. Let's begin by taking the stand out of the box. These are the first Wacom boxes that come with handles to pull out the inner box. I struggled with the boxes for the older Cintiq Pro 24 and 32 because there was sort of a suction that made it hard to pull the inner boxes out. This handle makes it really easy for one person to take out and put back in the box. As you can see, it works best if you lie the box flat when pulling it out. I'll set aside the parts of the stand for now and move on to unbox the tablet. The same handles are present here as well. Be careful with both of these inner boxes because the lids will just lift off without any flaps or tape like you'd expect from previous generation boxes. The packaging is less elegant than previous generation tablets. It has a recycled look to it, though this is by design to make the packaging more environmentally responsible. There are two pieces of tape holding the faceplates on the back. You can peel those off. Included with the tablet is a pen stand, cables, and power adapter. I will examine these in detail in my full review. There are also instructions which are very clear and easy to follow. Now that everything has been unboxed, let's assemble the stand. Wacom stands can be complicated to put together, but this one will surprise you. First, lie the display screen down on a soft, clean surface like a towel or the fabric covers that came with the tablet. Use the supplied hex wrench and 4 screws to attach the circular plate to the VESA mounts with the tab facing up. This will hang on to the stand later. Next, lie the stand arm on a protective surface and slide the base onto the stand. There are grooves that the rounded pegs slide into, kind of like a bed frame. Now you can attach the base with the remaining 6 screws. I like how these design features take into consideration a user's strength, attention span, and dexterity. In a world where many products are made cheaply and the burden of assembly is often placed on the user, this type of assistance makes for a refreshing and pleasant assembly experience. Let's set the stand up right now. I'll remove the plastic cover at the top of the stand by sliding it out. Next, carefully slide the display into the slot of the base with the tab facing up. The tab will stop the display in the right place. Use the bracket with 2 screws to attach the display to the stand. Slide the plastic cover back on and the stand is done. I am amazed at how simple that was. Although I could have attached the cables first, I think it was easier to do it later. Simply push against the raised edge of the 2 cable faceplates to slide them up and off. You can disengage and engage the locking mechanism on the back of the stand to fix it at an angle where you can see the connections. Attach the power cable first, then determine which connectors and cables you'll need. HDMI, USB-C, and DisplayPort are all supported, and cables are included. Unless you're using the single USB-C cable, you will need both a data and video cable. I am using DisplayPort and USB-C, so I will attach those to the display. Use the cable ties to route the cables up, then slide the faceplates back down until they click. Next, position the display approximately where you want it on your desk. Then connect the cables to your computer. Now, wash your hands because you touched a lot of cables with chemicals on them. I'm not joking, it's in the manual. Next, you can customize the pen or use it as is. The parts are hiding in the pen stand, which has a face that lifts off. Unscrew the base of the pen and place the metal weight inside if you want to add weight to the rear of the pen. You can slip on a grip and change the button plates. Once you're done, screw the base of the pen back on and you're done. Next, you can attach the pen stand if you like, choose the side you'd like to attach it to, and then use the dial to screw it in with your thumb. Be careful of the face of the pen stand, as it pops off really easily and can fall onto the ground. Now I can choose a more final position for the display. Just don't hang the base over the edge of your desk. I will now test the display to ensure that it works by pressing the concave button on the back right to power it on. You hold this button down to power it off. If you have not already installed the Wacom driver from their website, do it now. You may be asked to restart. It may take a moment for the display to recognize the driver. You will see the screen turn on and off as this is happening. If the installation is successful, a welcome screen appears with a quick start guide, but you can skip this for now if you like. The very first thing you may want to do is set up multiple displays in the display settings of your operating system. You'll want to extend the display rather than mirror it, and then arrange the displays as closely as possible to how they are arranged on your desk. In Windows, you can enable the Ease Cursor Movement option to make it easier to move between displays with your mouse. Your pen will only work on the Cintiq for now, but we'll look at how to change that later. You can also choose which display will be the primary display. Typically, this should be the Cintiq if you want most windows and applications to appear on it, but you can change it to another display. We will fine-tune the remaining display settings shortly. Next, test the pen in an art application that supports pen pressure. If that is working, then the initial setup is done. However, this base configuration does not take advantage of several key features of this display. We'll have to manually enable those. By default, the Cintiq Pro 27 will be optimized to use less power. I had to enable 120Hz in Windows display settings, then activate 10-bit color in my GPU control panel. When I chose 120Hz, my color format changes to YCB CR422, which I think is required to support 120Hz by using less bandwidth. I don't know whether or not that affects color accuracy. It could also be that I'm unable to select RGB because I'm using DisplayPort 1.4 when I need the extra bandwidth of DisplayPort 2.0 since I have 4 displays connected to my GPX 1080 GPU, 3 of which are through DisplayPort. Compared to 60Hz and RGB, I don't see any noticeable visual distortion in the color or contrast, so I guess all is well. Next, I'll enter the display options by pressing the flat button on the back. Unfortunately, you have to use the express keys to navigate this menu. The icons on the left show you what each button does. I prefer Adobe RGB for the color profile, and I found the default brightness of 50 to be too dim, so I increased it to about 75. For the most accurate color, use a third-party hardware color calibrator. You can also enable and disable the uniformity of brightness on the display. Overdrive is said to reduce ghosting when refreshing the display. You can decide whether you like these on or off. And while you can enable HDR, you only want to do this if you are working with HDR content, otherwise the colors will look washed out. Now that the display settings have been set correctly, let's move on to the Wacom Center and configure the tablet and pen. The new Wacom Center gives you quick access to your devices and their settings. It's sort of a dashboard which applies a more modern graphical UI to the controls found in the Wacom tablet properties. This menu is so much nicer to look at because it is less cluttered. I also like how the window can expand to become full screen. On the left side of the Wacom Center is a list of the tablets, pens, and other devices connected to your computer. The Cintiq Pro 27 is active right now, and I can see all of the pens that I have linked to this device. There are also options for the express keys, touch, and display settings of this device. As you can see, I'm able to customize each device and each pen independently of each other. This means I can work with several pens at once, each with their own properties. And I can even choose unique profiles for each application or all applications globally. The first option to look at is Display Toggle. This can be found under Express Keys. By default, this is set to one of the express keys on the left. When you press this key, it makes your pen active on one of the other displays. You'll need to press this key one or more times until your pen becomes active on the Cintiq again. If you want to disable this function or move it to another button, you can do that. You can edit the express keys in the Wacom Center. A handy diagram shows you which functions are programmed to which keys. Click on a function, and an editor will open on the left. Here you can edit the function or choose a different one. As you can see, you can use express keys to perform mouse clicks, invoke keyboard shortcuts, toggle tablet functions, open on-screen keys, navigate your computer, launch applications, and more. You can even disable these keys if you don't like them. How you would set these up is totally subjective. You'll want to spend some time working in your favorite application to get a feel for what you're doing often. To give you a quick example, I am an artist, so I might want mine to pan the canvas, hold Shift to draw straight lines, clear the layer, or toggle guides on and off. You can come back to this later and configure these however you like. For more information about setting up express keys, check out my videos on that subject. At the bottom of this window is a list of the profiles for each application you have configured express keys for. In this case, I have only the All Applications profile, which will apply globally to anything running on my computer. But if I wanted to choose specifically my art application, I can add that by clicking the plus button. If the app is running, I can choose it from the list. If not, I can browse for it. The minus button, of course, will remove a profile. Now that I have two distinct profiles, I can choose art-specific shortcuts for the art app. Each device and each pen can have their own profiles as well. Speaking of the pens, let's customize the Pro Pen 3 next. I am using the 3-button configuration. Since there is no eraser on the pen, if you want to use the pen to erase, you have to reserve one button for that. Just like the Express keys, all I have to do is click on the function to open the Edit menu, which offers the same list of functions. You can also customize your pen pressure here. You can draw on the test area to see what you're currently getting, and then use the slider to adjust it. If you press firmly when you draw, set it toward firm, and do the opposite if you tend to have a light touch. If you click on Advanced in the top right, you can access even more options to customize the pen input. I won't go over all these options because they're not as commonly used, but I will point out Windows Ink, which may need to be disabled for some art applications to work properly. For the most part, touch should already be set up for your operating system and most art apps. This is because many applications support touch and respond to universal gestures. You'll need to make sure to enable touch with the switch on the back. In the Basic Gestures tab at the top, you can see that basic 1- and 2-finger gestures are global and controlled by Windows. Advanced gestures involve 3 to 5 fingers. You can toggle these to recognize Wacom or Windows gestures. If you choose Wacom, then you can configure the gestures here. There are gestures like showing the Start menu and navigating through tabs that are useful Windows gestures. The Wacom gestures can invoke on-screen keys, which greatly expands how many functions you can access. You'll have to choose which are most important to you. Now that your tablet is set up, you can open a few of the applications you typically work with. In my case, I will primarily be concerned with making digital art on this device. I'll want to ensure that pen pressure is working correctly to vary the size and opacity of the strokes. I'll also ensure that touch is working, the Express keys and the buttons on my pen are doing what I want them to do, and I'll verify that my color looks correct. If any of these things are off, go back and watch the steps again to better configure your device. Because this tutorial is focused on setting up the Cintiq Pro 27, I won't go into detail about using the device. For that, I have a wide range of tutorials about different subjects, from art to graphic design to content creation. Check those out and subscribe to my channels to get access to those resources. That's all for this tutorial. I hope you enjoy working with your new Cintiq Pro 27. If you found this video helpful, become a member to support this channel. Thanks for watching and keep an eye out for my full review of the Cintiq Pro 27.